Hi, everyone. Hope you've had a great week. Just wanted to recap what I talked about on Sunday night and the challenge that I want to bring before each of you now at least once a month. So my thought here on this has been that we've just gone through a tough stretch, church wide. We've had lots of things going on, lots of distractions, lots of even painful things that have happened, including some deaths. And so I feel like we're coming out of that, but we've also just kind of been stalled for a while, and we've been very much distracted from the growth that we want to see, and the mission that we want to be involved in. And so this is the challenge. This is the way I challenged everyone this Sunday night. Okay, I've come to this short little reference to the teaching of Dr. Ramesh Richard a couple times now, but I want to recap that. I want to review that and then add an extra challenge. So, Dr. Ramesh Richard, Dallas Theological Seminary professor and the founder of RReach International, says this: there are three errors about the spiritual life I find in the Christian world and into which I can fall. Any of us can fall. He says there are headies who, in their spiritual life, focus almost exclusively on knowledge. They think that the spiritual life is about knowing and learning. There are hardies who focus primarily on experience in their spiritual life, on experiencing God, on character issues and holiness issues. And then there are handies who focus on good works and service and on doing. So headies focus on knowing, and hearties focus on being, and handies focus on doing. And I think all of us have a tendency towards one of these. Have you thought about which one you lean towards, or which one you tend to emphasize or perhaps overemphasize? And so this is a challenge that I want you to think through, because some of us would would probably argue for hours about which one is best. Like, if you're going to make an error, if you're going to overemphasize one of these, which one is best? And that's an important thing to think through, and that helps us to think through the significance of each of these. But they're all errors. To overemphasize one of these at the expense of the others is an error. They're all good. They are all an important part of our spiritual life. But to overemphasize one and de-emphasize one or the others is also an error, and it stifles our spiritual growth. And so this is what Dr. Richard said: cognitive goals, growth in knowledge; affective goals, which is growth in character; and behavioral goals, growth in service, treat us as individual, total human beings in community. That's a good thing. We're not just heads, we're not just hearts, and we're not just hands. We are head, hands, heart, loins, feet, all sorts of stuff all together. So a healthy Christian life is a matter of not just balancing, but emphasizing each of these, growing in each of these areas of knowledge and of doing and of being consistently. And so the challenge is, he talks about goals, cognitive goals, affective goals, behavioral goals, head goals, heart goals, hand goals. What kind of goals do you need to make? And this is where I've left the conversation off in the past, just saying, what goals do you need to make? But I want to add to that this time. I want us to spur one another on. That's a reference to Hebrews 10, 24 and 25, to spur one another on toward love and good deeds. And I want to spur one another on in community as a church by challenging, by encouraging each one of us to set and meet 3 goals each month. Just because we're at this place where we're so busy and we're so distracted, to just set these goals, simple goals each month, 3 simple goals each month that we're going to work on, and then we're going to come together in community the next month and talk about it. Okay, so here's some examples. Let me walk through this a little bit. Let's spur one another on by setting and meeting 3 goals each month. Number 1, head goals. This is knowledge, pursuit of wisdom, understanding. Love the Lord your God with all your mind. Okay, so we want to ask these questions monthly. How have you grown in knowledge this month, and how will you grow in knowledge next month? And these are just some examples that I threw out there just to spark your own goal setting thoughts. All right, read the book of Job. We're gonna study through the wisdom literature in the near future. But also, the book of Job is about suffering, and it helps us understand God's perspective of suffering. And so, a good goal would be to read this book in a month. Start reading the Bible in a year. Find a plan and start reading the Bible through in a year. Complete 4 first principle sessions, or 3 or 2, or maybe just 1. But if you're in a first principle study, then maybe your goal is to just get that study done. Participate in evangelism training. Beg me or Nate or somebody to teach the story, or my Greek for non-Greek majors course on Sundays, or at some time before church, or at some point, or attend Summit in Ames, Iowa, that we're going to do here in early November. Or whatever your idea is. Maybe there's a book you've been wanting to read. Maybe there's a book of the Bible you've been wanting to study. Maybe there's a subject of the Bible you've been wanting to study. If you need ideas, please talk to me. I have plenty of ideas for how Christians need to grow in head knowledge. But set at least one simple goal, one goal that you can achieve, and begin growing more in your growth in knowledge. Number 2 is heart goals, character, experiencing God, holiness. Okay, so how have you grown in character this month? These are the questions we're going to be asking each other. How have you grown in character this month? How will you grow next month? And here are just some ideas. Set aside an hour or even a day for focused prayer about your spiritual status, about the condition of your heart. Maybe work through an assessment. These are great for really kind of checking our oil. I have a lot of ideas for assessment tools, so please see me about this. But this will identify areas of character you need to grow in, or maybe it will just be an encouraging exercise. You can see that you're doing well. Prayerfully approach someone about being an accountability partner, or a mentor. And we believe so strongly that mentoring relationships are a key part of spiritual growth, a biblical spiritual growth, that we want to encourage that. So maybe that's what you need to do this month, or whatever your idea is. You know your heart to some degree, at least, and so what do you need? How do you intend to grow in your heart, in your character, in your experience of Christ and of God, and set a tangible goal. And then number 3 is hand goals, growth in service, growth in behavior. How have you grown in service this month? This is the question we're going to ask. How will you grow in good works next month? And this could include, when we're talking about behavioral goals, this could include more than just service, but that's where my emphasis is here. Because I believe we all want to be, and it's a passion of ours as a church, to be benefactors to our community. But don't forget just behavior. Perhaps you've been slipping in an area, and you've become foul-mouthed, or you've been drinking too much, or something, and so you want to change a behavior. That's, set a goal, set a tangible goal for dealing with that behavior. Or perhaps there's a behavior that you don't have, a behavior of generosity, perhaps, or of just listening to others, a behavior that you admire and you want to grow in that way. But here are some other ideas. Have an unchurched family, or just a neighbor family, over for a meal and get to know them. This is a significant part of our mission, is to use our homes as mission centers. And so I encourage this one very strongly. Have someone into your home for a meal. Organize a neighborhood gathering of some kind, like we've done in the past. Give a generous gift to Babu Rao's ministry in India. Participate in Family Promise hosting, and serve a meal one night, or get hooked up with a parolee and mentor them and listen to them and encourage them, or participate in divorce care, or organize a family ministry night in your home. And if you're not sure what that is, then please talk to me about that, and I can help you. But fill in your idea. If none of these appeal to you, then fill in your idea for how you're going to grow in service and in behavior and in holiness this coming month. And let's talk about it together. So look, I know I don't have to tell you, it's pretty self-evident how important it is to grow in knowing and in being and in doing. So I know that you see the significance of this conversation. So I look forward to visiting with you this week in our Sunday gathering. And if you're watching this video and you're not a member of our church, or if you've never participated in any of our discussions at City Church Lawrence, then we encourage you to come as well. We would love for you to become a part of this kind of a conversation where we're spurring one another on toward love and good deeds, spurring one another on towards a whole life growth in Christ. And you are welcome. Hope to see you this Sunday.